welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundy, what a game 7. That was incredible. That has to be the best Stanley Cup final in the since the new millennium, since year 2000 at least. Like, that was absolutely electric. All comes down to a game 7, and neither team looked bad. Both teams looked like they were at their full power, at least for the most part, for how they'd been playing in this series. Like, one team would possess the puck for 4 minutes in the O-zone, and then all the minds, and in the end, the Florida Panthers, 2-1, are your Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah. And you know what? I got one thing to say about that. Oh, crack one for the Florida Panthers. Crack one for Kyle Oposo, Stanley Cup champion. It absolutely incredible game. This was the final game we deserved. I mean, just from start to finish, like, I mean, as you know, kind of we're, you know, kind of just neutral fans in this, just wanting a good close game, like for, you know, for Florida fans, for Edmonton fans through the course of that game. I can't even imagine the range of emotions that they are going through, or like throughout that entire game, and then obviously ending the way it did, especially for Edmonton fans. I mean, you know, for like 5-6 minutes left, McDavid has an empty netter there. He can't pull the trigger and get it in. It pops over to the side. I think it was like Hyman or something couldn't get in. Like,
Hyman. Hyman's the one I think should have buried that. McDavid tried to. He tried to get it around Bobrovsky, but he had to move it like 3 feet to the left to get it around the pad. And he had two guys like leaning on his stick. I think Bobrovsky was probably also punching at his stick as well. Like, when
what a game!
There was
from
one
Bobrovsky.
shot. Great game from both goalies. Both goalies were phenomenal.
Yeah, both goalies. Yeah.
And there was one shot. I assume, I'm just going to assume it was from Bouchard. One of the Edmonton defensemen takes a big shot. McDavid in front gets the tip on it, barely goes over the net. I thought McDavid had it tied up there. Like, you couldn't have written it better. Like, I really wanted to see it happen. Like, at the start, I just wanted to see the Panthers lose. And then halfway through the series, I just wanted to see Edmonton win. And at the end, I was like, I just want to see the reverse sweep happen. I just want to see somebody finish that comeback, because a lot of people were talking like it was a foregone conclusion. But every time I see these like reverse sweeps start to happen, I swear it's like most common that they get shut down in the game 7.
Yeah.
And there's a reason it's only been done once in 1942, before Joe Biden was born, to put that into perspective. That's how long ago this happened.
Jeez.
Yeah, so
it's just such like
there's a reason nobody does it, because it's really freaking hard, because you're facing one of the best teams in the NHL, and then you have to win 4 in a row. Like, yeah.
Well, you know what? We did. Well, I
got as close as you can without winning.
Yeah, I said it back when the series was 3-0. I said, you know, this Edmonton team, like, again, we talked about Edmonton, team of destiny, basically what it felt like. And it was like them winning 4 in a row. I can see it like 10 out of 10 times. But the one thing I kind of wavered a bit with it, but I did say I have a hard time seeing the Florida Panthers lose 4 in a row. And going into game 7, I really thought Edmonton was going to do it. I thought just, you know, not only were they winning games, but it was kind of like they were winning in more convincing fashion than Florida was. Like, you could argue Edmonton outplayed Florida in games 1 and 3. Well, for sure 1, probably 3. And it's like, and Florida came out on top. And it's like, so, you know, when Florida's winning, it's like Edmonton controlled the game. But then when Edmonton was winning, it was like they were dominating. And even the fact that they won game 6 and McDavid put up 0 points. Actually, fun fact about that game 6.
Yeah.
That game was the first time in Oilers franchise history with McDavid like as a part of their team playing in a game where the Oilers won a game where McDavid had no points and no shots on goal.
In the playoffs?
No,
or
in entirety. The
wow.
first game the Oilers have won that McDavid has played in where he had no points and no shots on goal.
That's crazy because he was still most likely their best player that night too.
Yeah. And that just
That's
shows
crazy that
though
he
that
didn't have a
when
shot
you
on goal that game either because he was all over it.
yeah, and the thing is with Edmonton, when you talk about Edmonton, it's like, oh, they're so top heavy and it's like the depth isn't that great, but it's like the depth came through for them.
The
The
depth
depth
was
came through
great.
and they won game 6 and going into game 7, I thought, like it just felt like this was it for Edmonton. Like this was their moment. They were like, not only was, McDavid finally going to get a cup, the cup was coming back to Canada, but it was going to be done through a reverse sweep against such a deep Panthers team, like a great Florida Panthers team.
Yeah.
And I mean, hats off to the Panthers. They played a fucking phenomenal game. I didn't like in the third period that it kind of turned into, dump it in and just let the Oilers come back at you because it's like if you give, McDavid and company a full period of just coming in on you,
Yeah.
eventually they're going to tie it. And Sergei Bobrovsky just shut the door and just said,
Yeah.
no, it ain't happening. Like
Yeah.
there was times where it was like, it looked like Edmonton was going to score, but not only even Bobrovsky, the Florida Panthers entirely, like massive shot blocks, diving in front to knock loose pucks away,
The
breaking up
forecheck
passes. Like,
when the puck would get dumped in, they would only send one guy. They wanted to make
yeah,
sure we had at least 4 guys back defending, but they'd send Sam Bennett or whoever in and hound the defenseman. And a lot of the times they'd turn over the puck. There was one time, I think, with about 7 minutes left, they turned it over and ended up possessing it in Oilers zone for like a minute and a half and just
it was
ran a
tough for
bunch of
them
the
to make
clock out.
that first pass. They had a hard time making that first pass because of the pressure, and
Yeah.
that was huge as well. Um, I guess let's kind of do a little recap of the game here. So obviously to start the game off, within the first 5 minutes, Florida gets a power play, and at the very tail end of the power play had already expired, but Carter Verhaeghe, a guy that I was very hard on about his play,
Yeah.
as of late, fucking phenomenal deflection.
Yeah.
Um,
And
like
I
you
was
couldn't have
saying
asked. Like that was a
he's
Joe
Mr.
Pavelski
Game
level.
7.
Yeah, that was a Joe Pavelski level tip.
Yeah.
What he did there, and then obviously,
I didn't
kind
even
of what
see
we.
his stick come up. All of a sudden, it changed direction and was in. Like it was so fast, I couldn't even see it on TV.
But then, yeah, like right after Florida gets the opening goal, which again, the opening goal is in a game like this is huge. To get the first one, like we've seen when Edmonton, when they get the first goal, they kind of ran with it in this series. And so for Florida to get the first goal, absolutely massive. And then about a little bit over 2 minutes later, Matthias Janmark gets sprung for a breakaway. It kind of seemed to be like what Edmonton was looking for a lot, was those kind of long stretch passes for breakaways, because as Janmark showed, that's where they kind of really got to Bobrovsky, was on those one-on-ones there.
A lot of their goals this series have been like that. Hyman had one in Game 6. A couple guys have had them
Connor
throughout
Brown
the
had
series.
one
Like
in 5, I'm pretty sure it was.
yeah, like they've been incredible on it. I do just want to shout out on that first goal as well. The Oilers penalty kill looked insane. They looked so good right before that goal. Obviously,
Mhm.
that tip ends up going in, but they played that penalty kill nearly perfectly for the first bit, for that first minute and 50 seconds.
Oh, 100%. Like they were lights, just like they'd been all playoffs.
Yeah.
So then, kind of even game back and forth there. Just so many chances at both ends. And a little bit under 5 minutes left in the second period. Sam Reinhart walks in, and it's one of those ones where Florida had like probably 8 of those kind of plays throughout the game up until that point. And they would always kind of maybe take it wide, or they would go for a pass or try and feed it back door or something.
Yeah.
And finally, someone just puts it on net and shoots. Sam Reinhart, kind of the goal scorer for Florida all year, walks in and rips one short side, and it held on to be the game winner. That no goals after that. Sam Reinhart gets
Yeah. Plenty of
the
chances both sides all throughout the game, but
yeah.
yeah. After this goal happened, because because the other 2 goals came relatively quick. After those first 2, I was kind of wondering, like, is this gonna be like an arms race? Are we gonna see like a 7-5 Stanley Cup Game 7? And the teams, like the goalies, really just shut it down because both teams were getting great offense, and that was a perfectly placed shot from Reinhardt, and yeah, it ended
Yeah,
up
it was
holding
a
up,
goal.
and
It was a goal.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was a goal.
Seeing him come down the side, it's like there's a chance for a pass, but watching the broadcast, it really was like, oh, he's gonna shoot this. He's gonna fucking rip this.
Yeah. And so then, yeah, that it holds on to be the game winner. Florida had a couple looks at an empty net there at the end. Edmonton had some great chances to tie the game. It was with 10 seconds left when it was in Florida's end. It got into the corner, and you see the two Florida players just collapse in on the puck there, and you knew it was done. Like you knew
I
when it was
Yeah,
exactly reminding me of like Aaron Ekblad in
in the
game 3 it was
yeah,
when they
absolutely.
just
That's what I thought
collapse in
of
on
as
the
well.
puck in the corner there and hold it there. They're not losing it. They are holding it there, and you knew like that was it.
Yeah, I
And
do appreciate McDavid. He wanted to go in there and help grab the puck so bad, but he knew there was no time left on the clock, and he backed up and he put himself in a position that he was still in front of the net but close to the battle. So if the puck squeezed out, he could grab it and take the world's fastest shot if possible, if there was still time left. But he knew he couldn't go in and help grab the puck because at that point the game's over. He
yeah,
just had to pray that it would come out, and unfortunately it didn't.
yeah. One thing I do want to say about this game, and it's
Yeah.
something we talked about a lot because I was kind of worried going in, like, what could happen. Refs were a non-issue. The
No,
reffing like cannot be used as an excuse in this. Like, it's straight up. It's just it was a really close, hard fought game, and Florida came out on top because Florida pulled Edmonton into the type of game that Florida wanted to play. This is the way that Florida won their 3 other games. It's the way
yeah.
they won tonight. But you can argue that the refs missed a couple calls
I
that
was
would
gonna
maybe
say
be called,
I
earlier
do
in the
think they
playoffs
should
or
have
the regular
called
season.
a
But
couple more, but like it was just a couple missed opportunities. It wasn't bad officiating. Like
no,
instead of the power plays being, what was it, 2-1 for in Florida's
yeah.
favor in the end, I think it probably should have been closer to 4-3, but it yeah,
It
it
could have
wasn't
been, but
that
you know
bad.
what? The refs were waiting. Like if there was something egregious, they were going to call it. But just hard battles, they weren't calling it. Even
Yeah.
the high sticking on Evan Bouchard. I mean, you like his was it Luce Ryan? His nose was cut, and they only gave him 2 minutes.
That one
Now
was
I
actually
don't
funny.
know.
He wanted it to be bleeding so bad because it did that thing where it's like, is it a blood blister? You could see blood on his face, but he kept touching it and looking at his finger, and nothing was on his finger.
No, he never touched it. He was touching everything around it. He was doing like the sides
Oh,
of his nose and like trying to go in his lips and whatnot. And I'm like, man, when you get high stick, like you know where you got hit.
you got to know where it hit you, right?
Yeah.
If you don't, it's probably not bleeding. But I am surprised that the only penalty called for the Oilers' favor was that Matthew Tkachuk one. Not that that's not a penalty, because he's going to the box, he's screaming, "I fell, I didn't trip him on purpose." But like, bro, how long have you played hockey? You know that it doesn't matter if it's intentional. Tripping's tripping. Um,
Mhm.
but it
I'm
is
just glad
funny.
that
It is funny
the
that a
refs were.
blown tire leading to a trip is their only penalty called. Just because,
Yeah.
like, you'd expect a penalty called in a Game 7 Cup final to be, a brutal cross check to the small of the back, or a big hit or something. But
Yeah. When you
refing
knew
was
when it's
luckily
a
not an
2-1
issue in
game
this
though.
series at all. It
Yeah, no.
wasn't an
When you
issue
knew
at
a
all, and I
2-1
love that.
game, like in the third period, like you have to do something so egregious to get a penalty called on you.
I don't remember
Like,
who it was. I kind of want to say Philip Broberg. Every time he was on the ice, I noticed that he knew, I'm not going to get a penalty called on me. He does not play a game where he's running around cross-checking or anything. He was giving people some freaking shoves. And
yeah.
he wasn't like doing multiple bad ones, but he'd hit him with one or two pretty healthy cross-checks on a guy nowhere near the play. But he
Yeah.
was like, the ref's not going to call this in the final 10 this close. Are you kidding me? He's not going to call little old me over here. So I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of maybe a little smart on him. I don't know if any of them affected the play, but it was interesting to see that from a guy who I hadn't seen cross-checking people like that at any point in the series.
Yeah. Another thing, because we were kind of talking a bit about it with some bets on games and whatnot, and obviously, I'm assuming there's a lot of listeners out there and a lot of people who, put money in certain areas tonight, and obviously you didn't. If it probably didn't come through for you if you're on the side of Edmonton or other factors. Um, Nobody lost more money tonight though than the Buffalo Sabres, who, as a result of tonight's game, lost $500,000. Do you know why that is?
Did they have a performance bonus in Okposo's contract?
Oposo signed a bonus at the beginning of the year that if he won the Stanley Cup, he would get $500,000. Assuming, Buffalo's probably like, yeah, fuck it, we're not winning the cup, but he goes on to Florida, he wins the cup, and
Yeah.
now Buffalo's got to pay him that $500,000 bonus.
And he was their
because he
captain
won the
for a
cup.
while. So you know what? I don't think
Yeah.
they mind paying him that one bit.
No, absolutely not. And it was great listening.
Probably
to,
the owner does, but the
no,
GM and everyone
fuck
else in
them.
the org doesn't care.
It was great listening to Sam Reinhart's interview after the game talking about
A lot of
Oposo,
them had
'cause
great interviews.
they were and Reinhardt's are like, just because we talked about Oposo, and it's like they were teammates in Buffalo for a while back, and Reinhardt was there before he got moved, and so to have his a veteran he looked up to a lot in his younger years in the league, coming over and joining them in Florida and going on to win the cup, you could just see how much that meant to him to for the team to get him a cup. And I really liked what Florida did. I liked the whole, kind of doing the veterans first, because, a lot of their core guys are kind of, younger guys, or a guy like Verhaeghe already has a cup. So it was like,
Yeah.
Obviously Barkov gets it first, and then Bobrovsky, well-deserved. And then, Oposo, and then Oliver Ekman-Larsson, then Dmitry Kulikov, and then finally Aaron Ekblad, who I couldn't be more pumped for a guy like Ekblad, man.
I so consistently forget that Ekblad is not the captain of the Panthers. Like, don't get me wrong, Barkov's probably a great captain, but he seems like a bit more on the quiet side. Barkov is that loud, let's fucking go boys captain.
Ekblad, you mean? Ekblad.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Ekblad is like that. And he was a first overall pick there back in, what was it, 2013?
2014. So 10 years later, he's finally hoisting the cup there with the Panthers.
Yeah, and so good. Also, kind of insanely impressive, by the way. He's holding the cup, he's skating around, and he hit one of the carpets that is just a tripping hazard. What? Just fucking roll it up while they're skating around and then push it back out. It's not that hard. Yeah. But he had one skate hit it, and as he's fully extended, arms over his head with the cup. And he immediately, as soon as his right foot hit it, shifted all his weight onto his left leg and didn't fall down. I thought he was going to eat shit for sure. So that good for him for not absolutely power bombing the cup into the ice.
Yeah, exactly. And then, if you haven't seen Paul Maurice's interview, go check it out. That was an all-timer interview. And then I said it before, because if the Panthers won, he would win. Roberto Luongo finally got to lift the Stanley Cup as well. And what an incredible moment that was as well. That was just terrific to see, and so well deserved. Couldn't be happier for the guy. The whole team entirely. You can just see what this meant to them. From top to bottom, to the veterans, to the young guys, to the coaches, the staff. Going back to last year, they wanted this one. And I forget who it was. I can't even remember. I can't remember the player, but they basically said when we went up 3-0, we kind of we let it get to us a bit, and that kind of got them off their game, because we talked about, I think the Panthers thought they had it won after they went up 3-0, and they got hit with a hard reality check. After that. But at the end of the day, you know what? All they had to do was win one game. They got it done tonight, and now they're partying right now, and I can't even imagine how miserable that flight is going to be home for the Edmonton Oilers now.
Yeah, and they also showed Brady Tkachuk in the crowd, obviously
Yeah.
watching his brother Matthew Tkachuk win the cup, and I don't think at any point in the celebration was Matthew Tkachuk half as happy as Brady Tkachuk. Holy
Yeah.
crap! You'd think he just won. That dude was psyched for his brother.
And that's the one dude when Kachuk has his day with the cup and his party with his family. Brady's the only guy there that's not going to get to touch the cup or anything and do anything with it.
Yeah.
Like he was the happiest out of everybody, but he's the one guy that's not going to get to actually lift the cup up or touch it or do
Yeah.
anything with it. He's just got to stand there and watch.
That's fine. I don't think he wants to. I think he wants to when he wins it.
Well, no, exactly, right? But it's just funny that the one guy that's literally going to get to do
Yeah.
nothing with the cup seemed to be the most pumped out of everybody.
Yeah.
Eh,
I'm just gonna look at a couple things here. In his career, I guess this is only regular season, not even counting however many times he's been in the playoffs. But Paul Maurice for coaching, 1,849 games coached. This dude has been around the block. He has been around so long, and just for him to finally get that Stanley Cup is just so awesome to see. His first coaching year was with the Hartford Whalers. That's how old it was in 1995. And now in 2024, he wins it with the Florida Panthers.
yeah. Yeah, like just
There's a lot of guys
what
to
a
be
journey
happy for.
for Paul. And again, if you haven't seen his post game interview with the media there on the ice, go watch it. Like that was one of the greatest interviews I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. No,
More than
it
anything,
felt
it
really
was
good.
more of just a shout out to his family, his mom, dad, his brothers, his upbringing that helped him get to this point.
Yeah.
You can just see how much it meant to him.
Yeah.
And
He was trying so hard not to cry, and it was just beautiful to watch. Like, dude deserves it. He's been a great coach for his entire career.
yeah,
Um,
and I said I put out on Twitter. I said next up now is Peter DeBoer. Like it was, Paul Maurice was kind of the veteran coach that's always kind of been there that hasn't got it done, and now that he's got one, it's Peter DeBoer's turn. He's kind of the coach now that I think is due for a cup and has really been chased one for a long time and had multiple opportunities at it. Um, hasn't got it yet, but with what he's got there in Dallas, I think there's a very good chance, as long as he sticks around there, that Peter DeBoer could be next.
yeah.
One thing before we kind of go into the after stuff, talking about the Con Smythe and some stats leaders and whatnot, there is another trophy that got awarded tonight that got so fucking massively overshadowed by this Game 7. And
Yeah.
that is the Calder Cup in the American Hockey League, the
Why
AHL,
did
the
they do it
minor
the same
league.
day? Why
Well,
is it the same day?
yeah, I
Is that
mean,
on purpose,
yeah,
or was that actually an
no,
accident?
no, I mean, yeah, it's just kind of the way they go. Like the leagues run off their own
Yeah.
schedules.
No, both of them
Um,
on a Monday? Come on,
but it was
guys.
also Game 6 tonight. Like it's not like it was two Game
I
7s.
guess. I guess.
And like especially when one series goes, you can't just like build, because again, like events are taking place in Edmonton, events are still taking place in Florida. Like you can't alter everything around it. It's just kind of the unfortunate reality of it. But the Hershey Bears, the AHL affiliate of the Washington Capitals, won the Calder Cup today, and it is back-to-back years for them. They were the champions last year, again this year, and it comes in Game 6 against Coachella Valley, which is the AHL affiliate of the Seattle Kraken, and it was won in overtime by none other than the youngest of the Strome brothers, Matthew Strome. I think it was only like a minute and 20 or minute 30 or something into
I was gonna say.
overtime,
I think it was like
and
just
walks in
over a
and
minute.
walks in and tucks one there. And so the Hershey Bears are your Calder Cup champions. Now, kind of moving into some post game stuff here of Oilers and Panthers. Here, what do we got? Like, what do we want to cover? Because like, there's
Let's
so many
talk
things we
about the
can
Con
cover with
Smythe.
it.
Let's talk about the
Con
Con
Smythe.
Smythe.
First of
That
all, McDavid should have fucking come out and got it.
No, hard
Yeah.
disagree. Nope.
You
You
Jaguar did it when he lost.
do you think they asked him? No, he felt like he had to. JS Jagier, his most famous moment is that picture where he looks devastated. Even though he won a cup eventually,
Yeah.
he's more famous for losing. We don't need a picture of McDavid looking pissed off, taking a picture with little Gary
I need
Bettman
the picture,
standing
but
there,
just come out and
looking
grab
like
it
Sir
and
Topham
just
Hat.
and take it off or something. Because like it's so weird they bring it out, they make a whole thing and be like, McDavid got it, and then
Yeah,
the guy's got to come back out now and grab it and carry it off. Like he could,
that's
like, I don't know.
fine.
I mean, I know it sucks, but at the same time,
It
like
would
he
have
won
been
an
more
award. Like,
awkward. It would have been more awkward if he came out versus the guy just running it to the back. He's the first guy to DoorDash a Con Smyth, and I think that's kind of baller.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it's like you win the Con Smythe for playoff MVP. I think at least come out and grab it and then take it off.
Ah.
Whatever the fuck you want to do. If you want to just punt it in the corner and be like, this isn't the one I wanted or something. But also, I mean, Florida Panthers fans, I know booing because you wanted your guy to get it, but I don't think you can really boo McDavid for winning it because
I was gonna say, were they
there was really
surprised?
no other credible options at that
Yeah.
point. Like
They
Barkov really didn't. I mean, he was good defensively, but really didn't shine much in the series offensively. And Bobrovsky, I think, after you know
the
what he
blowout game.
did throughout games 4, 5, and 6, I really don't think you could have given it to him at that point. Like McDavid
Yeah.
was at the end the only credible option. There was no
It's
other option.
And it's telling because Florida Panthers somewhere in there, they know that because as Bettman's talking, because he's trying to be vague, right? He doesn't want people to know who he's picked until he starts ramping up to the end of his speech, right? And as soon as he said the line, this trophy every year goes to the player who is most valuable to his team. Some of the people started booing. You could already hear it building because they
You already
knew
knew at
the
that
guy
point.
who was
Yeah.
most valuable to his team was obviously McDavid.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't think Bobrovsky, Barkov, Kachuk, I don't think any
They
of
don't
them
give a
care
shit
right now.
They don't give a shit because Bettman normally would say like just you know the MVP of the playoffs. But when he said that like the most valuable player like in the playoffs like for his team, it was like, yeah, you knew McDavid was getting it then. And
Yeah.
100% the right decision. Like you
Yeah.
really I think there would have been a bigger outcry from not the Florida fans, but just a general fan base of the league if you went in another direction. Because McDavid was the clear choice after he
I
broke
think they
the
might
records he
not have
did.
got a lot, only because I think that would signal that we're in an era where it's not really hard to win it on the losing team. It is now impossible, and they're just going in a direction of we don't do that. Which, if they want to do that, that's fine. But like, if that was a direction they wanted to go, I would want the NHL to be like, we're making this official. It's the MVP on the winning team. If they want to
You'd
do
have to
that,
put
that's
out a
fine. But you
statement.
got to say it because otherwise, it's kind of like it feels like you're snubbing him if you don't.
Well, yeah, because the Con
acknowledge it.
Smythe, the description for the award is MVP of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So you'd have to then change it to the MVP of the winning team in the playoffs or something. Because if McDavid didn't win it, absolute just travesty there. So obviously, McDavid really doesn't care about that because again, it's not the trophy
I think he
wanted.
will.
But
I think he will. I don't think he cares right now, but I think next year, a few years when he's retired, I think he'll look back and go, I did fucking kill it in that playoffs run. Like, I deserve this trophy. 42 points in 25 games. Damn right I'm the MVP.
McDavid's only going to care about it
Obviously,
if he wins a cup.
He cares more about the cup. But win or lose a cup, I think he still will hang his hat saying, I have this Con Smythe.
I think if he wins a Stanley Cup, he will.
I don't see you being retired and like resenting the Con Smythe.
Not resenting.
I think you're still proud of it regardless. I think it means more when you win for sure. But he would trade 10 Con Smythes for one cup. Easy.
Yeah.
Oh, but I think on its own he still would be happy to have it.
Yeah,
that's what I get. I'm not fucking best friends with him. I'm not going out drinking with him on weekends. I don't know, but
why not, dude? Hit him up. Be like, hey man,
he won't return my calls, man.
He'll be like, fucking tough L, man. Drinks tomorrow? Question mark. The little side eye.
That would be so funny. Game 7 ends. Fucking 30 minutes later, I get a DM from McDavid. Drinks on me. Let's go. Meet me in 20.
Hey, no, what are you gonna do? Drink it off the floor? Got no cups to drink out of. Sorry, Edmonton fans, but um, yeah. So obviously, McDavid, Con Smyth, well deserved. But where are
Yeah.
we at here?
Oh, I'm trying. I'm just. There's so much going on in that post game presser and everything, and trying to figure out what to say. One thing I will say, and nobody who works for ESPN or TNT is going to be listening, but I'm going to say it anyway. They need to stop fucking cutting away from guys hoisting the cup. The amount of guys hoisting their first Stanley Cup, because for the first quite a few guys, there's still guys, depth guys, but guys on the team, Luosterainen, Lundell hoisting the cup, and they've got it split screened. That's bigger, and slightly smaller is Matthew Tkachuk doing interview, Barkov interview, Bobrovsky interview. Once they started getting to guys who were like the black aces, like the healthy scratches, the guys they would call up to play, that'll still get their name on the cup, they would completely 100% of the screen would go to the interview. And it's like, okay, well, we can still watch both. Like, I know more people aren't going to care about this as much, but like, come on, he's hoisting the cup. At the very minimum, you just want the cup on the screen for advertising stuff, Like, it's just,
Yeah.
how often do you actually see the cup? Like, it's good to have it there. So I wish they would do that. Get rid of not showing it, but other than that, I don't have a ton more to say specifically on the cup. Congrats to the Panthers. I mean, a lot of people are counting them out. I never did for a second. I figured this game was going to be really close, and god damn was it.
Yeah, one thing worth noting, someone just texted this to me. It is kind of tough for Edmonton as tonight because right now the salary cap is still set at 82.5 or something like that. The Oilers had $10 million in their cap space in the press box tonight, between Jack Campbell obviously not playing, and then Evander Kane, who didn't play in games 4, 5, 6, or 7 in the series.
Yeah, he was very clearly injured.
Again, not an excuse for Edmonton because, again, this was a very winnable game for Edmonton. They won games 4, 5, and 6, down 10 million. But again, when you look at that, and it's like, man,
yeah,
you could have a $10 million player there, or you could have 2, 5, or even just some more depth pieces around.
I guess, but we can nitpick salaries all we want.
I'm not saying it's an excuse for them. Like, if you use that as an excuse, you're a fucking bum because because you want all those other ones. But again, like, it's
because
cap management is a thing that you got to pay attention to for a team.
What's Stuart Skinner being paid right now?
I think Stuart Skinner's still on league minimum. I think he's on his rookie deal.
Yeah, and he was, I would say, about tied with Bobrovsky in the final series. Maybe slight edge to Bobrovsky, but at the very minimum, I think the goalie duel was close. So,
sorry, Stuart Skinner's making 2.6.
So 2.6 versus 10 mil.
Yeah.
Florida could have had an extra 7 mil in players if they hired a cheaper guy. So you can make the discrepancies wherever, and obviously the Jack Campbell contract is bad. But yeah, it'll be tough for this Edmonton team to get back here with some of their cap situation, especially with some of the overages coming in. It's looking a little rough. One thing I did want to ask you, and I actually texted you this earlier today when I had this thought. Still talking about Stuart Skinner. As of right now, is Stuart Skinner the starting goalie for Team Canada next Olympics?
No.
Who do you have ahead of him?
Aiden Hill, Logan Thompson.
You'd put those guys over them?
Yeah.
Hofer and Dowd both played for Canada in the last World Cup. Like, Canada's got not a lot of great goalies.
That's different, though. That's like the World Cup, though. Like, that's not the Olympics where everybody's got the time off for it. You're picking from a handful of teams based in the NHL.
I don't think any of the guys you said are better than him. At the very least, not head and shoulders.
You cannot say that Stuart Skinner is as good as Aiden Hill.
I can, and I do think
Logan Thompson, but there is no way you can say he is as good as Aiden Hill. Logan Thompson,
I think he's at least as good as Aiden Hill.
No.
Aiden
No.
Hill had a great Con Smyth run, like Con Smyth level run with Vegas, but I I don't think he's
No. Like,
I don't think
I
he's
think
done it
Stuart
long
Skinner
enough to
redeemed
be that.
himself. I think Stuart Skinner, removed any controversy that like when people say he can't be a starting goalie. Like, I think he shut up all of those people.
Yeah,
But I will not be on the side being like, oh, he's the best Canadian goalie in the world right now.
I
I will not for 1 second stand on that hill with you, unfortunately.
I I think so. I think it's a
No.
one. I think it's a 1A 1B. I don't think anybody is a clear cut. No matter who you're picking, I don't think it's a clear cut starter because there's just a goalie drought in Canada
See,
right
but the
now.
thing is there's a
But
difference between Stuart Skinner going up against, the Florida Panthers, the Dallas Stars, the Canucks, the Oilers, or the Kings, sorry,
yeah,
versus being like, hey, you're going to go out against Team USA. That is Team USA is going to be the most stacked team in the
yeah,
Olympics, World or Frozen Four, whatever they're calling it.
yeah.
I think Stuart Skinner would get absolutely like not rocked in it, but it's a lot more than what
Well,
he's been facing.
but you think Aiden Hill is just going to be a rock in there?
I
Like,
don't think he's going to be rocked, but I think Aiden Hill is definitely more serviceable and more up to the task for something like that. Like when Stuart Skinner's on, he's on. But if Stuart Skinner lets a couple by him, then the floodgates are open. And then at that point, then again, I think Stuart Skinner shut up all the haters. I think he proved himself to be a legit starter in the league, but I for not for 1 second will I sit here and be like he's the best Canadian goalie in the world. I unfortunately I can't
I
I
I
can't
think
get on
he
that
I think he
train.
has a bid for it for sure. I'm not super confident on it. I'm not saying he trounces Aiden Hill. I'm saying I have them about tied. I have them about tied. Binnington is like right below them, but he seems inconsistent and also just loses his mind. I'm sure on a big stage like that, he would probably be no different. Um, but yeah,
I would probably still
that's one
go.
thing I
I'd
just wanted
almost
to run
maybe
by you.
still lean in Logan Thompson over Bennington.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, what is like? Yeah, I think I would.
It's so hard to tell because these guys play backstopping such wildly different teams. Like, Vegas is pretty good defensively. Edmonton seems like they're all offense, but the last few games have been incredible defensively. So who the hell knows there?
Yeah,
Um, the Blues, I don't know what's going on there. Sometimes they look good, sometimes they're dead center of a rebuild.
yeah. Yeah, no, unfortunately, you are on an island there. I'm taking the lifeboat and I'm saying you can stay here and build an empire there, but I unfortunately will not be a part of it.
No, that's fine. I
But
just
I
wanted
but
to
I
know your
do
opinion on
do,
it.
I do wish you all the best on that island.
It
Um,
would it would be boring if we had the same opinions on everything.
One island that I think fucking sucks to be on right now is the island of the Calgary Flames, where first of all, Matthew Tkachuk, his interview on the ice said, shout out to my Calgary fans. I couldn't let Edmonton win the cup. Fair enough, but
That
that's
was
got to be
funny.
so fucking tough to see Sam Bennett uh, hoist the cup and pass it off to Matthew Tkachuk afterwards as a Flames fan.
Yeah. And I
That's got
actually
to be a
texted you
tough
beforehand.
watch.
I knew that one of
You
them would
knew,
give it to
yeah,
the other,
and
and
and and
it
rightfully
makes so much
deserving
sense.
for Bennett. I saw people be like, "Why not Kachuk first?" You know what? Bennett was there first, so he's more of
Maybe
a veteran with the team, and he's more of a
I
veteran
think
in the league. Like,
people care a lot more than the players, Like I get the
yeah,
veterans getting it first and stuff, but like you're really gonna sit here and be like, he got it eighth instead of ninth. So snub. Wow, the org hates him. No, he's fine.
the
Do you
the
look
only
how
thing you could
happy this dude
argue,
is?
yeah, the only thing you could bitch about in the slightest with the cup rotation was Tarasenko getting it before a lot of other players that have been with the Panthers longer. Because one, Tarasenko was, I mean, he is a veteran, but he was a trade deadline acquisition, and he already has a cup. So
Has
that
he?
is the
Not this
only
deadline,
thing.
right?
Yeah, yeah, this year, Ottawa to Florida at the deadline.
I
That was
I
the
would
first of the deadline moves.
I would have bet money that he got picked up at least in the last offseason. I thought he'd been there forever.
Yeah, no. And so that's the only one you could bitch about because it's like, yeah, okay, he's a veteran, but at the same time, he's already won a cup and he hasn't been there as long as some of the other guys
Yeah.
grinding and dealing with the heartbreak of last year. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna bitch about something, bitch about that one. But at the end of the day, who gives a fuck? They all got the
Yeah.
cup. They all get their own day with it. They're cup champions. They couldn't give a shit about when they got it.
As long as a hockey game is, and also watching like stuff afterwards, we don't see a fraction even of the time these guys spend together. Like Tarasenko might just be like the coolest fucking dude in the world in the locker room. He might have helped like 5 of the Panthers in the last few months with flat tires and gone and like called AMA for him. Like we don't know what's going on. He might be housing rookies at his place. Like there's so much other stuff that goes on that a lot of the time it's more once guys retire and then they write a book or they're in more interviews where we figure out about a lot of this stuff. But like a lot of those guys, really reach out to some of the younger guys. And I do wonder if it's something like that. One guy who grabbed it relatively late was Anton Lundell. He must have been at least outside the top like 15. Like I swear he was pretty late in the rotation.
he was right in that, I think, like 11 to 13 range.
Oh, okay, he was a bit earlier.
Which,
but
you know what, that's a fair spot for him.
It was. I expected him to be
in
there
the
a
blunt
bit.
rotation. Like that's where I would put him. Like if I'm passing around a blunt with the boys, like he's probably in that area of it.
But
like you ain't
I did
giving him
expect him to
first
get it
crack at
sooner.
it.
He had 17 points in 24 games. He was there. He was their 4th
this
leading
playoffs.
scorer. Yep.
Fucking hell.
10th.
That's
10th
Baby
in
Barkov did that.
10th in league scoring in these playoffs.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Right.
Fuck you.
Well, 22 years old.
No, kid. This is the thing now, though. We've finally gotten out of the era of people being like, "Oh, Barkov's the most underrated player," and all this, and now just like that, boom, Baby Barkov's coming in, and now he's gonna soon be there. He's soon gonna be the guy that people talk about as being one of the most underrated guys because he is great defensively, and I didn't even know that he was doing this offensively in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like so now Florida's gonna have the next Barkov that's the underrated guy, the most underrated player in the league and whatnot.
Yeah.
Shit, good for him. What a run for him. That's impressive.
Like that's solid. Like 1 point less than him, Sam Reinhart. Like, dude was putting in work.
Not only that, on the third line too.
Yeah,
and not much power play.
A lot of depth coming through in these playoffs, and you know what? It often does. Like you need a full team to win it.
On the flip side of
Edmonton's ever looked. So
on the flip side of depth, we got to talk about it again. We know there's an injury of some sort, but Leon Draisaitl, 7 games in the Cup final, only 3 assists, and he had he had multiple shot attempts tonight. He did not register a shot on goal.
Yeah,
in Game 7.
I will not blame him for a second.
I'm not blaming him, but I'm saying there's got to be like an egregious like if we find out that it's like and he had a sore shoulder or something like that. Like I think it's more lower body more than anything.
But, yeah, I'm at this point. I'm expecting it's his spine. I'm expecting him to have like
it's got to be something.
His
bad.
hips are messed up, like separated hips. Is that a thing? Something with his discs, like it's something like that. There's been a couple times where he's like trying to get over the bench and he's like, somebody open the door for the love of God. He doesn't want to bend his legs. Like,
and here's the thing I'll say,
they shouldn't
be
rolling him out there for the minutes they were because he just couldn't.
I'm not blaming
couldn't
him.
do it.
Yeah, I'm not blaming him. And, and again, we're in an era now where you can't really sit there and celebrate players playing through injuries because of the era we're in and the crybabies of it. Unfortunately, that's just what we're in, being like, oh, we can't celebrate, guys playing through injuries and risking their entire lives for a game. Like, shame on us. It's like, whatever. That's on the player. That's on the team. They've got doctors. They make the right call. Like, if a player can't play, it's exactly why Evander Kane was shut down.
They really don't. I think the doctors need to have more power so that the doctors can be the bad guy. Because who cares if the whole fan base hates Oilers doctor number 1? They don't know his Twitter. They're not coming after him. At least I like to think so. But the thing is, though,
the bar was set so high. The bar was set so high last year after Matthew Tkachuk. He played with a broken sternum to the point where he was still doing what he did, but he couldn't even get out of bed on his own. He couldn't get dressed in his equipment on his own, but he was doing the things he did to the point where it came down to Paul Maurice, the head coach, had to say, "You're done. I'm shutting you down."
Well, because he stopped performing because he had a broken sternum. I mean, they
He
got
was still
shelled in
effective,
5 games
though.
in the finals.
Well, again, like, I don't like Vegas, but that was just a destiny year for Vegas. Like,
Yeah, of
nothing
course.
was stopping them. But look at what Kachuk was doing against Carolina. He basically single-handedly won Florida that series in a
Yeah.
sweep,
But
scoring some of the biggest goals.
it's just
He was
so unfair
so
to compare
noticeable.
those.
No,
Like,
but I'm just saying it's like a broken sternum, and he was doing what he did. And then, I mean, you just, again, it's got to be something like Draisaitl must be dealing with something really bad. But if you're an Oilers fan, you got to be sitting there and being like, I mean, I was talking to my buddy today because he's a diehard Oilers fan, and my heart goes out to him right now because there's got to be absolute pain for
it's
him.
rough.
But it's even when I look back at San Jose in the 2016 Cup final against Pittsburgh, I still look back at that and I'm like, you know what? If Thomas Hertl didn't go down injured in Game 1, I think San Jose wins that series.
Yeah.
Like, when
I
you
feel like
lose
most
your
teams have
a
at least one of
top
those.
stud player like that, so early on, to the point where, like, you don't, like, Draisaitl was there. Sure, he had some good moments, but like, he wasn't Leon Draisaitl. He's
He
not
was
the guy that
passing
just
so much
was
more than
scoring at
normal
will.
because he knew
Exactly,
he couldn't shoot. And the times he tried to shoot, he wouldn't
he looked
shoot in time and
awkward.
the puck would go past him. That's why he
Yeah.
didn't get a shot on net tonight. He kept getting one-timer chances, and usually he'd catch it and pass it back. But so whenever he would try to take the shot, he couldn't do it. Like, he didn't look like he wasn't trying. He didn't look like he didn't even necessarily look like he
that's
was
not what I'm
in
saying, though.
pain. He just looked like he was restricted, like his body
Yeah.
physically couldn't do what he
And he
wanted
was,
it to do.
though.
And he was very evidently pissed off by that too, which who
Yeah.
wouldn't?
Well, and I'm saying that, like, that's got to be the tough part for the Oilers fans, is sitting there being like, we got to Game 7, we lost by 1 goal. You got to be sitting there thinking like, man, if we,
there's no what
if we had Draisaitl, and he was, even because he was probably playing at 10%. It's like, even if we had Draisaitl at 50%.
I was gonna say 30%. I think is pretty generous. Like, watching, it's freaking Leon
30%
Draisaitl,
is
dude.
too high.
Like, that's what I'm saying. That's like the most I would ever even consider. Because, like, look at his highlights. Look how fucking good this dude is, and watch him try to take a shot at all in that Game 7.
Yeah.
He's got his hands so high up, and he's late on the one timer. Like, he was not himself. And there's like you say with Hertl, what if for the Sharks? I think the Lightning could have gone 3 in a row if Braden Point wasn't injured for our cup run. But I think that if the Edmonton Oilers had Leon Draisaitl 100%, I don't think it's a what if. I think they win the Stanley Cup. I don't even think it goes Game 7.
No, but it's the what if of, like, what if Draisaitl didn't get injured? Like, we knew if Draisaitl was 50% or 75 or 100, they win the Cup. And it reminds me of Florida last year, where they've even, like, Paul Maurice has even talked about it. Kachuk has even talked about it throughout the playoffs. Like, Kachuk realized last year was a huge growing year for him because he was able to come into the playoffs this year, and he knew, like, I still got to play my game, but I can't do the shit I was doing last year because that's what took me out. And so he had to kind of adapt a bit, and he had to grow a bit and evolve into what he is now, to where, he can still be an effective player, but he's not, risking his body by the time they get to the Cup final. And, if you're an Edmonton fan, like, this is not the end for Edmonton. Like, this is the start now of, the whole thing was like, they can't get to the Western Conference final. And then when they do, they get swept. Now they've made it there. They've gotten past the Western Conference final, and they've gotten to the Cup final, and you got as close as you could get. A 1-goal game in Game 7.
Yeah.
After coming back from down 3-0. So, like, this is not the end for Edmonton.
Yeah. Without Draisaitl showing up too. So, like, a fully healthy team, you can argue you can run it back and win. Obviously, there's
and not only
stuff,
that,
and it's hard to run it back, but you have the team here.
And not only that, I liked Edmonton's depth actually more in this series.
Yeah.
Like, I thought Florida's depth
Incredible.
did exactly what they were supposed to do. Like, it's not like they sucked. They were still very good. But it's Edmonton's depth, their third and fourth line. They took their game to the next level and was huge for them. And I mean, unfortunately, it just kind of came down to, really for Edmonton at that point, it was you needed your big guys. And, even though McDavid got the Con Smyth, you can't really ask much more for him, but scoreless in game 6, scoreless in game 7.
The
It's
pucks just sometimes don't go in, right?
yeah, exactly.
Gretzky's lost in the finals, had it and lost it. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Hey, but you know what? Gretzky lost in the Cup final, and the next year he went out and won it. So maybe that's what we'll see from McDavid.
Yeah.
But that's kind of all I got for stuff revolving around the Cup final here. Once again, I just want to say a big congratulations to the Florida Panthers. Incredible season, incredible run, and going from heartbreak last year to being on top this year, truly incredible for them. So.
Yeah. One final thing I'm just going to quickly tag on about Matthew Tkachuk. These are his penalty minute stats from the last 2 playoff seasons. So last year with the Panthers, he had 20 games played in the playoffs, 74 penalty minutes in that time. This year, 24 games played. That's 4 more games, 31 penalty minutes. That's well under less. So that speaks exactly
20.
to what you're saying.
Take away 20 though, because there was the one game where he just got 2 misconducts for kind of beaking with the ref.
But that goes into what you're saying of he wouldn't do that this year.
But those were games that they like the Panthers had already lost. Like, they were already done anyway. So like I don't
think that matters.
Like, you've already lost. So well, he still loses his temper though. I'm more so just kind of talking about
he
the
very
way
much did clean up
throws his body on the line.
He wasn't taking near as many egregious penalties. He wasn't doing after the whistle stuff. Like, in 20 games, 74 penalty minutes, even if you take the 20 off, 54, that's still a lot.
It is still pretty high, yeah.
So
it is still pretty egregious.
He cleaned it up quite a bit this year. So yeah, congrats to the Panthers. Do we have too much else? I know we got a couple other things lined up. I know you had something that you said.
Breaking news.
There it is.
Wah, 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 wah. Breaking news. We got breaking news. You're going to love this. You're going to love this.
Let me hear it.
Coyotes owner, Alex Marullo, abandons arena plan and has stepped down from his role. He is gone.
There it is. That is all we needed. You knew it was coming because I swear to God, he did this on purpose. I swear to God, he failed at the auction on purpose so he could go, guys, I tried, and then fuck off with his $2 billion for an expansion franchise. I swear he did it on purpose. He didn't hire a lawyer when he was trying to get a new franchise going. He did it on purpose. And you know what? I don't care. Fuck off with your money. Fine. I don't want to hear about this guy ever again. And now somebody else will come along. They will buy the name to the Coyotes. And you know what? Even if they don't, they'll make the freaking Arizona Venom. And they'll come back and hopefully be able to pay their rent.
I'm still on the side that I don't know. Again, when you're
either way,
you're a billionaire.
I don't care.
There's better markets.
Fuck him. We don't have to deal with it anymore.
Yeah, I am glad that like he's gone. We don't have to deal with it. But again, I'm still on the side of right now that, if you're a billionaire owner, there's so many better markets that I think you can take that already have just crazy amount of support.
I think you're really underestimating how much people freaking love
it's
Arizona.
Not that I'm underestimating it. It's when you look and see all the support that places like Houston has gotten, even Atlanta again, which I don't want to see a third team to Atlanta. I think you failed twice, you're done. But I just think there's other markets that have already put out more that, like I think if the Arizona Coyotes or a team in Arizona, it's going to be much further down the road. Like it's not going to be the, within 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. Like it's going to be out there. Like
I doubt it'll be that soon.
There's more
but I think
profitable
it's
markets. Again, it could happen, but when
because
you're
like
looking at it, there's more profitable markets out there right now, and you got to
I
jump
don't
on
think
those
there
ones when
really
the
is.
iron is hot. You can't tell me Houston would fucking bang
They already have
with
a
the
team in
support they've
Dallas, so
got
you're
there.
splitting stuff, and Dallas is a great team right now. Like, I don't think they'd blow them out of the water.
But that's like being like, oh, they've got a team in Montreal, they don't need one in Quebec City. Like, you're basically splitting the same hairs there. And there's been so much support for a team in Houston
Yeah,
as well.
but I'm not saying that they shouldn't get a team. I'm saying that one in Arizona would at least perform to the same level,
And
especially with guys like Austin Matthews and stuff like that in the league. Even just being an ambassador for sports in Arizona, even if they don't play there.
I was gonna say he ain't going there
He
now
is
ever.
no, I
He
don't
will
think
never
he's going
play
there.
in the state of Arizona for that team at least. But yeah, so that's where we're at with the Coyote situation again.
Yeah,
Good
news.
Who the fuck knows what goes on from there? The only other thing we got before we kind of do the final wrap up of the overall stats leaders for the playoffs is this was weird because it was a
Very
pretty
weird.
big trade that dropped like 20 minutes before the anthem started for Game 7, and that is that Linus Ullmark has officially been traded out of Boston, and he is going to the Ottawa Senators for a first-round pick this year, which is the 25th overall pick. Jonas Korpisalo, who I think was 25% retained, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it was 1 million retained. Whatever
Okay,
whatever that percentage is.
so 25%, as well as Mark Kastelik. Also worth noting that the pick that the Bruins got back actually was their own first round pick.
Yeah.
Going back to them there. I don't know. It's a weird trade, and I mean,
I like it.
If you're a Flames fan, you got to be feeling pretty fucking good about your return on Markstrom now, though. I think you got to be pumped with it now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to figure out which team you meant it for because they swapped goalies. Yeah, this is fantastic work by the Sens. And if a trade was going down between the Bruins and the Senators, I would have been so confident that the Bruins were going to fleece them or at least get really good value. The Bruins rarely lose trades. They don't make bad trades very often. And the Sens, they have a history of fumbling the bag when it matters in some of these things. So this is tidy work. They got rid of Korpisalo's contract. They're only dealing with $1 million per year on it for retention. So that's, very doable. Linus Ullmark he won the Vezina a year ago, 2 years ago. Like this is exactly what they need. The first round pick is 25th overall. It's a first, but that's not huge. I don't know really anything about Mark Kastelik. I've heard the name.
Mark Kastelik. So I know a lot about him because back when I went to a lot of Hitmen games in Calgary, he was the captain. I really liked him. I think he's a good locker room guy. I think he fits exactly within the Boston Bruins style of hockey. But at the end of the day, as much as I like him, he's a fourth line center. He's a fourth line center. You can chip in a bit offensively. He's responsible defensively, and he can hit and fight. That's Bruins style there. But again, it's a fourth line center.
Yeah, and you know what? If that's dependable, Ottawa, that's fine because that pushes your center depth up one by each line for the Bruins, and that's great because they need that.
Well, if you're Ottawa, you're looking at it now. Basically, it's like, again, as much as they like Casta, like he was probably going to kind of be an odd guy with guys that they have coming up, guys that they already have within their system. So it's like you're getting out of Korpisalo's deal again. The $1 million retained really doesn't matter. The only thing it could affect is it takes up a retention spot for 4 years. That's all it is. The $1 million does not matter. Yeah. So you're getting out of Korpisalo's contract. You're giving up the 25th overall for a guy who is the reigning Vezina Trophy winner.
Yeah,
that's fucking great work right there.
That's great. And I know a lot of people are looking at the Sens going, why are they doing this? They're not ready to compete. Regardless of whether we think that, their locker room and more importantly, their GM and their owner are saying we're ready to compete. So
And they should be. With
they
what
are
they
in
have, they
buy
should be.
now. They are in buyer mode, and this is the first step to it. Like, and
Yeah.
I hate how bad the Sens did last year because obviously I'm a Lightning fan. I watch all the Lightning games. They played so damn well against us every time. I was like, this team's on a 6-game losing streak, and they just come out here and do this to us. Like, they might
Yeah.
have swept us in the regular season series. Like, they were nuts. So, uh, adding Ullmark to the lineup, if they can make a couple more moves, they could definitely be a wild card team, at least this
Yeah,
upcoming season.
I really think it's great for Ottawa. I see a lot of Boston fans upset that it's like, you know,
Fair enough.
again, it's if you're trading within your division, I think it's okay, but especially when you're trading a goalie the caliber of Omar, never easy. But at the same time, Boston waited too long. New Jersey went out and they got their guy in Markstrom. LA went out and got their guy. Well, they couldn't really do LA because Allmark, vetoed that one. But they waited. They waited so long to the point where other teams went out and addressed their goalie position to where they're kind of looking, and it's like Ottawa was really kind of the only team out there that was actively in the market for a goalie.
Yeah.
And so you're like, what do you do? Do you just run back Allmark and Swayman and then you lose Allmark to free agency? Like you had to move them and you waited to the point where Ottawa was your only suitable option. And I mean, I'm curious to now see what Boston does with that 25th overall pick, because I think they can still get a really good value pick and a really good player with that pick. But again, it's on their scouting now and their gym and whatnot. They gotta hit this pick, because if you're looking back at it, it's one of those ones where it's like, you got a guy who just turns out to be a fourth line forward or a seventh defenseman or something. Then you're looking back at it, it's like, man, you fucking fumbled the bag with this trade. So Boston, the pressure is on. They need to hit with this pick and show that they've got some life out of that trade. Because if you fumble that pick, this could go down as an all timer, like absolute blunder for the Bruins, who are normally pretty good at making decisions. Like there's
They're
not
one
many
of those
times I see
teams
the
that,
Bruins make a move and I'm like, fuck, like what are you
yeah,
doing?
they're one
Like
of those teams. There's about generally a rotating carousel of about 5 or 6 teams in the league that any given year they make an insane signing or trade, and you just go, "Fuck again." These guys just got a deal given to them again. Like there's some teams that you just wish no other GM would ever pick up the phone when they call because they're gonna kill it.
yeah.
And the Bruins have been that for a good amount of time. So, uh, yeah, maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they see something in Kastelik, or maybe there was just nothing else out there. But it'll be
Yeah,
interesting to see how Ullmark plays against or behind that Oilers team, not Oilers, Senators team
there you go.
versus the Bruins.
Yeah, and again, I think it came down to Boston had to take what they could from Ottawa, because again, I think Ottawa was really kind of the only, serious buyer. Like I heard Toronto was kind of out there in the goaltender market, but if you're the Bruins, you're not sending them to Toronto.
No,
Like that was like the
no.
one team that's on there. Like, yeah, we ain't giving you a goalie.
Yeah.
um,
And
all
oh
that's
crap.
left.
I think I had something else. Oh, like an hour before that trade got announced, the Bruins extended their AHL starter, who I believe will be now their backup going forward. I don't know his first name because I only pay attention to his last name
DiPietro?
because they extended Bussy.
Oh yeah, Brandon Bussy. Yeah,
Brandon Bussy.
Brandon Bussy. Yeah,
You can keep
great
waiting for
name.
it to not be funny, but
Yeah, fucking great name. That is an all timer name right there.
But yeah, as soon as they extended him, it was like, okay, this deal's definitely going down soon. So of course they'd put it out on the day of Game 7 of the Cup final.
Yeah, right. But
Um,
yeah, so that kind of wraps up all of
yeah,
our Stanley Cup coverage there of Game Sevens. Once again, congratulations to the Florida Panthers and congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, Great year. Looking at where they were at the start of the year, you lost to a bum ass San Jose Sharks team that had absolutely no direction in their team, to completely rewrite the script, make it to the playoffs, and you knock off some good teams in the Canucks and or Stars, and then to go down 3-0, you forced a game 7, and you came up just one goal short of overtime, and then in overtime anything could happen. So, for the Oilers, I think you still gotta keep your heads high and
New coach, like they had so many things going against them. So the fact that they got here is insane because
and they're going to
quite
be on a
frankly,
revenge tour now.
yeah, because
It's going to
they
be a
played against a
revenge
team
tour
where
for 'em.
everything went right. Like,
Yeah.
like come on, Sam Reinhart's not putting up, what was it, 56 goals again, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right? Like,
Who knows? Maybe he's that guy. But yeah, they had a great year, and congrats to Connor McDavid on the Con Smyth. He's not going to want to hear it today, but I feel like in a bit he will. Regardless, he got it. He's earned it. And one thing, I actually don't know this. I just want to ask you, do you know when the rest of the NHL awards are announced?
I think they're doing it on Thursday. I think it's Thursday
Okay.
out of Vegas, and then Friday will be the draft. So we will be back in a day or two here, and we will have and it'll probably be a long one because that one will kind of be our entire draft preview.
Yeah. Yeah,
Coming
we'll
up
probably
for
have a couple of kind of sporadic podcasts coming out as soon as we get big news, and we can put them out over the next week. And then not too far after that, we'll probably be going back to our one a week once the draft, once the free agency is settled. But until then, we'll be putting out our Friday podcast usually, and also a couple extra ones whenever big news hits.
Yeah, exactly. Like one thing is for sure, we will be always doing our regular Fridays as we have been. And then right now it's kind of the craziness of the whole playoffs and then the draft and free agency. We will have a few episodes here and there. One final thing I'll say before you hop into the final stats is just a fun fact. Not much to it, but Evan Rodriguez, part of the Florida Panthers, won the cup tonight. He
Right.
is the first ever Evan to win the Stanley Cup and have his name on the cup. So if you're an Evan out there and you're listening,
Bruh.
the wait is finally over. There is an Evan now that will be on the cup. So
There was going to be one on there regardless. Bouchard.
I guess, yeah.
There would have been after this series.
Yeah, there would have been either way, but Rodriguez takes the honors of that. And well deserved for him as well, man.
Great series. Did he end the series with the most goals? He might have had most goals in the series.
He very well might have. He very well, I think he did actually, yeah.
But yeah, I'll get into the stats leaders for the playoffs now that they are completely over. These are locked in, and when you look in 20 years back at the 2023-24 playoffs, these will be the same stats that you find then. We're going to look at the goalies first. What now that they're over, what do we want to look at? Do we want to look at like guys that made it to the Final Four? Do we want to look at just all of them? Like what should I put minimum games played at? Should we exclude
I think
first round?
I think you do just minimum games played. I say you just do a nice 12.
12?
And then you just do kind of the top of each one.
12 is perfect because with 12 games played sorted by goals saved above expected per 60 minutes, Jeremy Swayman with 1.144, a 933 save percentage. That's nuts. The next closest guy for goals saved above expected per 60 is Igor Shesterkin. Again, Swayman 1.144. Shesterkin's at a 0.786. That's quite a drop from 1 to 2. Save percentage, a 926. Shesterkin was obviously fantastic. Ottinger with a 0.363 saved above expected and a 913. And then the two guys at 4 and 5 with minimum games played 12. The two in the finals. Bobrovsky with 0.247 saved above expected per 60 and a 903, and Skinner with 105 and a 901. None of these goalies had under a 900 save percentage. We
Yeah.
saw some great goaltending. A guy who also Stuart Skinner, he didn't play. If he were to win the cup tonight, he would have 15 wins because he was pulled for 1 or 2 games in the series against the Canucks, I believe. Like he was bad enough that they replaced him, and then he came back and was so good that he brought his stats up to this respectable level. So, congrats to him. Congrats to Bobrovsky on for being 4 out of 5. Pretty good stats, and especially Swayman. I mean, those stats are incredible.
Yeah.
He only had 3 games played, so he doesn't qualify at all for what we were just doing. But I'm just gonna shout him out anyway because Joseph Wool with a 964 save percentage over those 3 games. Only 3 games, but a 964. That's incredible, and I just wanted to mention that. But going over to the players. Obviously, sorting by points, obviously, number 1 is Connor McDavid, 42 points. Absolutely absurd. Those are alien numbers.
Yeah. What a run.
In second, Evan Bouchard with 32. 26 assists as well, most in a postseason by a defenseman ever. So he's also about here breaking some records. Draisaitl, we said he ghosted a bit. 31 points in 25 games. Like
Yeah, he was on an insane run up until the cup final. Like he was right up there with McDavid. Like there was still talks of like it's him and McDavid. It's who's gonna have the edge kind of in the cup final, put the team on their back. And we know which way it went, but
we were saying
that up until then was lights out.
Yeah,
incredible.
Like we were saying that we don't know how McDavid could win the Con Smyth on the losing team because he was so close in points with Draisaitl at one point. So he obviously widened that gap a bit. But yeah, it's really too bad that he got injured. I'm interested to know what it is. Fourth player, we're still on the Oilers. 22 points in 25 games. Zach Hyman. I guess there's quite a few guys tied at 22. You also got Barkov in there. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Matthew Tkachuk, all at 22. It's crazy how many Edmonton guys are right at the top there. But yeah, there's a lot of really good performances throughout these playoffs. 21 points for Verhaeghe as well. Let's go to goals. What is the record for goals in a single playoff run? Is it 18 or is it 19?
I got no clue, honestly.
It's either 18 or 19, but
I think 19, but I could be wrong.
Zach Hyman got 16, so he was not far off. And then next, top goal scorer Carter Verhaeghe with 11. Wyatt Johnston, Sam Reinhart, and Leon Draisaitl all had 10, and of course, Valeri Nichushkin with 9. But those are the leading scorers. They are now set in stone for the 23-24 postseason. Do we have anything else? Are we all good to wrap up?
Yeah, no, that's that is everything. Everything that I had. Once again, congratulations to both Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
Incredible seasons, gave us incredible hockey, and the one unfortunate part of tonight's game was it marks the official end of the NHL and Adidas era, as now that was the final game that we'll see Adidas jerseys on the ice for an NHL game, as Fanatics, unfortunately, will now be taking over. So we'll see how that goes. But
do you know when that they have become the official sponsor, Fanatics? If you were to buy a jersey online right now, I assume you'd still get Adidas.
Yeah, I got no clue for that, unfortunately.
Maybe we'll do a little bit of homework and talk about that next time if we can find it.
Yeah.
If that's even something that's public.
But yeah, that kind of wraps up not only this episode, but our entirety of playoff coverage for the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs. We want to thank everybody who's been along for this ride. We have seen so much just support and everything from you guys. Not only this entire season, but from the start of the playoffs to the end. If you have been a day one listener and joined in on the ride with us here, we really do appreciate it. And if you want to join in and talk about anything revolving on to the Stanley Cup final here, the Con Smyth talk, the Florida Panthers, Edmonton Oilers, or even coming up to the draft or free agency, you are always more than welcome to join in on any conversations with us over on our socials. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SEU Hockey. Come over there, come say hi, talk hockey with us, because we have a lot coming up here. We've already talked about a lot, but we do have a lot more coming up, and we would love to engage with you guys and kind of, get your guys' thoughts here, and maybe some stuff you guys want us to talk about on here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's all good stuff. Oh man, I was so focused on that game. I'm just, my brain's a little bit fried. I was having a bit of an out of body experience watching that whole third period. Just what an all-timer series and game 7. Just
yeah, it truly
a win
was.
for hockey, like, to just be that exciting.
Yeah, incredible for the league, for the players, for both fan bases. Again, whether you're happy or sad, what a ride it must have been for you.
Cannot wait for the Amazon documentary following this
100%.
playoffs.
100%.
That is going to be must-watch content for any hockey fan.
100%. But once again, we do want to thank all of you guys for being a part of this journey with us through this. We look forward to covering the draft and free agency coming up with you guys as well. Once again, congratulations to the Edmonton Oilers. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers. Congratulations to the Rangers President's Trophy winners, if you want that. But once again, thank you for everybody, and we'll see you guys later this week.